Before saying these scary words, Katya was about to die. Finally, she took a deep breath and fell out. Kirill is not lying. Her best friend Agata, who was sitting opposite her at the cafe table, spurted a cocktail and coughed. Katya slapped her on the back and stretched a glass of water. Finally, Agata stopped coughing, but her face still expressed shock and surprise. "What did you just say?" she said. Katya repeated clearly and clearly, as if hammering nails into the coffin lid. "Kirill is cheating on me. He has another woman. But what did you take from her?" Agata was amazed, looking at her with her eyes rounded. Katya was tired inside. She had been so long, since the very early morning. She was holding her husband's face, trying not to reveal that she knew everything. And now she understood that there was no more strength to pretend. She wanted to drop her head on the cross on the table of her hands and cry out, childishly, in a fit of rage. It was terribly painful to realize that everything was fragile, gentle, and clean. What was between her and Kirill turned out to be stuffed into dirt and deception. But once their family seemed like it, Katya answered in a colorless voice to her friend's question. Kirill was in the shower, going to work, and left his phone on the bedside table in the bedroom. Agata was shaking her head, not believing it. "And you got in there?" "No, what are you talking about? I'm not like that. I actually trusted him until today." A new message just came in. The phone vibrated. I accidentally turned off the screen. I swear, I didn't have time to look at the thoughts. I only saw the beginning of the text. "Honey, the night was amazing. I'm already missing it and waiting for the repeat. Your wildcat." And then the screen went out. "Oh my God." Agatha sighed and closed her mouth with her palm. And at night Kirill just didn't spend the night at home. He came back in the morning. Katya was so sad. He said he was going to his business partner's birthday. Pure mail company, a bathhouse, a fishing boat, vodka, and shish kebab. I believed it. What a fool I am. Katya pressed her palm to her eyes so as not to cry. Agata looked at her in horror. "It's just impossible to believe. And who is she? Don't you know how this very cat is recorded on his phone?" "Oh, Kirill is not a fool. He was just trying to scare us." Katya smiled with a dismay. "This contact of his is preserved as a service car." "I can't believe it." Agata was shocked and repeated, "You have always been such a strong couple, an example for imitation. You were all envied from the very institute, since the day you started dating. Can you imagine what a scum?" Katya nodded. "If someone told me a couple of days ago that this was possible in our family, I would laugh at him. Funny. I was such a naive fool that I believed in the holiness of my own husband. It turns out that there are no saints, there are no ideals. Everyone is cheating. I could think of anyone, but not Kirill." My friend shook her head. "All this dirt. After your beautiful love story. Don't sprinkle salt on my wound," said Katya. "You think it's easy for me to accept it? So what? You didn't tell him anything?" Agata became interested. Katya shook her head. No, she couldn't. She wasn't ready for such a serious conversation at once. I had to come to myself, think, decide what to do next. "And Kirill didn't know anything?" "You usually have all your emotions written on your face." I tried not to meet him with a look when he came out of the shower. I said that I was in a hurry. I had to take the kids to school. I quickly fed them breakfast and we left in my car. Agata threw herself on the back of the chair and pressed her fingers against the temples. Phew, even my head was sore from excitement. "I can't imagine what you're going through right now. I still don't understand myself," Katya honestly answered. "It feels like I'm under the influence of monstrosity. I don't feel anything. And what are you going to do next? How are you going to find out who she is?" Katya grumbled and shook her shoulders. "To find out? I'm not going to do that. Who is this wildcat? I don't know and I don't want to know. But why did Agatha get shocked? It's just disgusting. How I think that Kirill and her Katya got too close. No, let her stay for me just an abstract lover. And how you will behave with him was not a good idea. I will divorce her. Calmly, as it was long ago decided in the case, Katya called. Agatha was shocked. A divorce? What about the children? Katya was in a bad mood. They're not small anymore. They'll understand. I hope that nothing will change for them after our divorce. Kirill is a good father. He adores them. They also care about him. Let them pay the bills. Let them take them on weekends for God's sake. I'm not going to hinder their further communication. But all this without me. Agatha was grumpy. You are really so determined. You've lived together for so many years. Maybe you'll think about it before you cut your shoulder. Katya looked at her with surprise. What to think about? I can't do otherwise. I just can't. I can't be with Kirill after I found out. Is this a one-off intrigue or an old connection? Agata was excited and banged her fingers on the table. And when are you going to tell him about it? I don't know. I need to get my spirit together.
Katya sighed.
Perhaps I'll live some time with my parents, come up with some kind of an excuse. The children miss their grandmother and grandfather. They will be even happy to change the situation for a short time. And it's even more convenient to get to school from there. And then I'll come to myself and talk to Kirill a little. In any case, I will no longer lie in one bed with him, and I will not stay with him under one roof for a day. She ended decisively. I am amazed at you, Katya. Agata was in awe and shook her head. Another one would be in your place now. She tore her hair and hit her head against the wall. And you, the calmness itself, in the embodiment of nobility and indifference, you are such a snow queen. No, an iron lady. Katya smiled, not laughing. Tell her that you envy me. I envy you, Agata admitted honestly. I would like your endurance and strength. Don't envy her. Katya wrapped her head around her. I'm just a normal middle-aged woman who was changed by her husband. And despite the fact that I'm braver and more ferocious than you are, deep down in my soul I feel so bad that I want to die. No, 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 what do you mean, die? Her friend was outraged. Listen, let's celebrate this with you. What do we celebrate? Katya couldn't take it and laughed. That I filled the ranks of the deceived wives? No, no. Agata's eyes were sparkling. Your liberation and a new life. What if everything is for the best? What if after the divorce you'll have something completely unusual, wonderful? After all, as you know, life only starts at the age of. Oh, Agata, with your lips, give me some honey to drink. Katya smiled. However, you're right. It's better to have fun than to mourn your marriage, which ended so badly. And she nodded, calling the waiter passing by. Please bring us a bottle of champagne. The waiter nodded and left, and Katya threw herself on the back of the chair and closed her eyes. What punishment is this for her? She didn't understand it herself. Katya and Kirill had 2 children, Milana's year-old daughter and Artem's son, who had just entered the 1st grade. Katya hated lying, but she couldn't tell the truth to her husband either. Thinking about it, she wrote him a message. We will spend a couple of days with my parents. The children missed them very much, and Dad got sick. It's better if I'm around. Kirill immediately called her back. In his voice, there was a sincere alarm. What's wrong with your father? Is something serious? No, thank God. Just the pressure is rising. Age, you know. So maybe the children are now, on the contrary, not in place? Kirill doubted. They are already so noisy and fighting with us. No, no, Dad will be very happy that we have come. Katie's husband assured. We haven't seen each other for so long. How do you know? Kirill answered a little confused. To be honest, it's a little unexpected. I'm so tired of living alone. I don't even know how I'll be without you. But it won't be long. No, it won't. Time will fly by quickly. Well, okay. I'll miss you. I'll call the kids in the evening. I love you, kitten, Kirill said to the phone. Katya's had a short breath. How can he be so cynical, cold-blooded? Last night he was snuggling in bed with some wild cat, and today, as if nothing had happened, he tells her that he loves. And she said, without even trying to say the word, I love. The children were really very happy to learn that they would spend a few days with their grandmother and grandfather. Katya's parents always pampered her grandchildren, gave them presents, fed them something delicious, and didn't refuse anything at all. Of course, they liked it much more than the home discipline. However, they were a little surprised that Mom was also going to live with them at the old people's house. And Dad will be alone at home? Mila clarified with disbelief. Why? And Katya had to lie again. This time not to her husband, but to her children. Dad has an important business project, she said. He needs to work a lot even at home, in complete silence and peace. You yourself understand that when we all get together, it's impossible to focus. Noise, hum, screams, cartoons, music. I see. Mila nodded. And how long are we here? I don't know yet. Maybe for a couple of days. Oh, damn it. Mila was outraged. And our textbooks, and the dance costumes, and Tima's training uniform. It's all at home. Katya slapped herself on the forehead. Exactly. How could she forget? Twice a week her daughter had classes in the dance studio, and Artyom attended the karate section. And the textbooks too. Mila was absolutely right. The car was already driving into the yard of the parents' house. It was too late to come back. Let's do this, said finally Katya. I'll take you to the grandmother and grandfather now, and I'll go home for my things. Give me a list of what you need for a few days. Only the most important thing is the chua. I'm not going to take a few suitcases. The parents were terribly delighted with the sudden guests. As I knew, I baked pies for your loved ones, with cabbage and cherry. The grandmother told me in turn first of all about her beloved grandchildren, and then the only daughter. Well, Tima, Grandpa was interested. Let's go fishing with you? Our son jumped out of anticipation. Of course we will go, he shouted. Hooray. I need to go home for my things. Katya said, I'll live with you a little too. Hearing this, the mother changed her mind, immediately suspecting the naughty one. And how about Kirill? She quickly asked, Are you two fighting? Katya smiled with a tight smile. Well, Mom, why are you so gloomy? He just needs a few days to be alone. And she repeated her lie about the upcoming important business project. However, it was not as easy for Mom to spend time with her as it was for the children. She shook her head with suspicion, looking at Katya's face. Oh, you're so dark, daughter. She finally spoke out and, holding her hand, pulled her to the kitchen. Let's go, for a few words. Katya realized that it was useless to resist. Mom will not just stand still now. She took a deep breath and headed for her. When they were left alone, Mom immediately sat down on her with questions. So what about Kirill? Did you argue? Why? Seriously? Did he kick you out of the house with the kids? She was shocked by her wild assumption. Katya wasn't having fun at all, but she couldn't help but laugh. Mom, what are you talking about? How can he kick me out? And no, we didn't swear at him. Then why are you here, and he's there? Katya turned away her eyes. It's necessary. If we are bothering you with our presence, then say it straight. We're leaving right now. You don't talk to me, and don't translate the topic. You don't bother anyone, and we don't drive you out. But it just looks extremely strange and suspicious. Anuka, please admit, where did you get it wrong? Katya was shocked and shook her hands. No, but it's a shame. Why did you decide that I was the one who got it wrong, not Kirill? Because my perfect son-in-law was cut off by my mother. He just couldn't do anything wrong. Katya smiled with a smile. Amazing. In my own daughters, you, it seems, are doubting yourself, and you trust him without any pretext, and you justify it in advance, even if it's his fault, not mine. So there is some kind of fault behind him, Mom said. Come on, tell me quickly. I'm still digging into the truth. You know me. And Katya gave up. It was really useless to hide anything. And she herself suddenly. I wanted to cry. After meeting Agata in the cafe, several hours have passed, and carrying this burden in myself has become more and more difficult. But please, don't tell anything to Dad and the children. He cheated on me, Mom, said Katya with a colorless voice. Mom's eyebrows flew up, and the mouth rounded in the letter O. Who cheated? Kirill? She gasped. And what? I have some other husband.
Katya sighed.
Are you sure? First thing, Mom clarified. I'm sure. I accidentally read the message on his phone. It doesn't mean anything yet. Perhaps you just didn't understand. Did you tell Kirill about this? Not yet, but... Katya was confused, but her mother interrupted her. That's smart. And don't say a word. Katya shook her head. Mom, to be honest, I don't understand you at all. Do you want to say that I should pretend that I don't know anything? Mom nodded. Well, yes, that's right. What's so strange about that? No, wait. Katya wrapped her head around her head and again said it clearly. You suggest me pretend that there was no cheating. Maybe there was no truth. Mom caught up right away. You didn't catch him on the hot one. Well, right on this lover. No, but I saw a message. What message? You can write anything there. Maybe he just wanted to be a substitute for this message. What if it's a search for business competitors? Mom, you've got some kind of spy passion.
Katya sighed.
And you really think I should live like nothing ever happened? Indeed. The mother was hot-tempered. Katya clarified. And not to tell about your suspicions to Kirill? No way. You're a woman. You should be above all this. And wiser. Katya thought she was going crazy from the absurdity that was happening. What is the wisdom, Mom? She exclaimed in shock. Well, okay, if it seemed to me. And if there was a betrayal, it turns out that I closed my eyes on her? Mother squeezed her lips. Well, you'll close it. What's so scary about that? Katya pressed her palm against the burning cheeks. And again, she shook her head. I can't do this. You can. Millions of women in the world live like this. They went through a betrayal, but they managed to stay above all this dirt. They managed to save their marriage. Save? In the name of what? Katya called out, feeling that it was starting to start. At least in the name of the children. The mother was in a pathos. It seemed to me that the man was getting married to a woman, not to children. Katya noticed this with irony. Oh, daughter, you are so naive. Most men forget the way to their children after the divorce. God forbid if the elements pay. Katya was outraged by this assumption. Kirill is not like that. It's humiliating to keep a man close to you, and to endure it just for the sake of your children. Mom was sincerely surprised. Who is humiliated? Me, as a woman. And you, endure. Clench your teeth and endure. And God forbid you try to find more real proof of his betrayal. The less you know, the stronger you sleep. Think better. That you thought it was all, or you were dreaming. Katya looked at her mother with pain. I don't understand this hypocrisy at all. It's easier for me to find out everything at once, to put points on the I. Now you're going to break the firewood. You're going to do stupid things. I know you. And Kirill is such a man. The treasure is not a husband, and most importantly, he loves you. Katya literally suffocated with indignation. What? And this is what you call love? Yes, my silly one. Imagine. This is what is called love. And the fleeting connections on the side are just fleeting hobbies that should not be given great importance. Katya turned away from disgust. This is disgusting. This is an adult life, daughter. Maybe it's time for you to grow up and start playing by its rules. And if I start a flight relationship on the side? Asked Katya. You will also say that they should not give importance. You do not understand. This is different. You are a woman. You are a housekeeper. And not some kind of. Katya was already close to hysterics. Oh, that's how it is. Another thing. The men were great. You can't say anything. Their cheats are nothing but tripping, disheveled. Mom poured a glass of water, poured valerian drops there, and gave it to Katya, peacefully stroking her shoulder. Calm down. Drink valerian. Someday you will understand that I am right. Apparently, it's just not the time. But I beg you, don't rush to destroy your marriage. Give Kirill another chance. Katya obediently drank valerian. Her teeth were knocking on the glass. She still could not calm down. Well, do you want to? Mom suggested. Live with us as long as you need. Day 2, 3, a week, or even a month. Just for God's sake, don't rush to tell Kirill that you know everything. Calm down, cool down. You'll see, a right decision will come with time. Okay, Katya is tired of whining. She persuaded me. I won't rush the conversation yet. And now I'll go home and get the necessary things. Here you are, smart girl. My mother was happy. Here you are, good boy. You'll thank me later for saying you were a fool. Katya and Kirill met at the institute. Or rather, first, Agata, the best friend, met with him. She literally whispered to Katya all the words about what a chic new guy had recently appeared in a parallel group. Katya, this is such an example. The girls are all in ecstasy and in a daze. They say he moved from St. Petersburg. Handsome, you can't die. The hunting season has already begun. Katya glanced at her friend's reddened face and laughed. Apparently, you were also going to take part in the opening of the season. Agata glanced. Why not? I'm no worse than them, and I deserve such a handsome man. Well, then I can only wish you a good hunt. Katya smiled. Thank you. If anything, you will be a witness at our wedding. Agata nodded, either jokingly or seriously. Wow. Katya was amazed. You are already married to him. Wow. Well, not that right away. The friend was confused. But you would see how good he is. As if he left the cover of a magazine from the life of a star. Jokely called Katya. I'm intrigued. The opportunity to see the newcomer was presented to her literally the next day, at the student canteen. They just took their tray and headed to the free table to have a snack before the next economic report. Having a good appetite, Katya didn't immediately notice that her friend was not eating anymore, but was looking somewhere behind her. He's here, she whispered. Just don't turn around. Katya didn't even immediately understand who she meant at first. Who is he? Well, he is. I told you about him. Oh my God. He's coming here to us. Oh my God. I'm going to die now. And Katya didn't have time to remember how she heard a pleasant male voice behind her back. Girls, excuse me. Are you free? Can I sit down? Well, of course you can. Agata happily fell out, smiling to her ears. The sound of the moving chair was heard, and in a second Katya saw in front of her a face of a stranger. More precisely, not even a face, but only his eyes. These were absolutely impossible, magical eyes. Black as a southern night, with long, thick eyelashes. Katya looked at them and disappeared. Previously, she always laughed at such turns. If I met them in books or films. What nonsense, she said. It doesn't happen that you look at a person and immediately understand at the same moment that you are created for each other. Fairy tales for housewives. However, now, looking into these stunningly beautiful eyes, she realized that she was ready to follow their owner even to the end of the world. Bon appetit. My name is Kirill, by the way. A young man introduced himself, putting his tray on the table and taking care of the food. And you? I'm Agatha, said his friend. Kirill turned a questionable look at Katya, but she didn't even immediately understand what she needed. It seems she has already lost the ability to think. She remembered only when Agatha pushed her with her elbows to the side. And this is Katya, said her friend, without waiting for her reaction, and Mila smiled at the young man. I'm sorry, She's just a little worried about the economic score. Oh, I understand. Kirill smiled sympathetically. I wish you good luck. During lunch, Katya could not swallow a piece. Her appetite was completely devoured. She only did what she could to make a new acquaintance and admired how he ate. Who would tell her before that she would admire the view of someone else's trap? She would only laugh in response. But now, in fact, she could not take her eyes away from Kirill. He had such confident and at the same time graceful movements and such beautiful male hands, with his long, strong fingers. He was so clever and unobtrusive. He was armed with a knife and a fork, and in each of his gestures there was so much nobility and aristocracy. Agatha was constantly shaking her spirit. Kirill was answering something. Katya didn't understand the meaning of the conversation. She was just sitting there like a fool and looking at Kirill. She had never been able to meet such beautiful boys. Now she understood all those girls who were hunting for him. Kirill finished his portion and was interested in Katya. I hope it's not me who spoiled your appetite with my presence. He smiled. His smile was also a miracle. How good? Beautiful, clear drawing of sensitive lips, beautiful white teeth. Damn it, he was perfect from head to toe. Not a human, but a Mr. Perfectionist. Katya was silent, and Agata again, not too polite, pushed her aside. Hey, Katya, what's wrong with you today? Actually, you were asked a question. Katya finally remembered. And what? She was confused, coming to her senses. Kirill smiled again. I said that you didn't eat anything at all. This is my appearance. You are hungry from the Shibla. Katya wanted to answer something smart and light, so that he would admire her sense of humor and intelligence, but she could not think of anything. Therefore, she just shook her shoulders and smiled in response. No, that is, I just don't want to eat anymore. Okay, girls, said Kirill, getting up. It was nice to meet you, but I have to go to the steamer, and as far as I understand, you have to hurry to your. Agata replied, in the th. I'll come there after this couple, said Kirill and suddenly winked at both of them. I'll find out how your success is. And before the girlfriends had time to remember, he hurriedly walked out of the dining room. Agata looked at Katya with astonishment. Did he really say that, or did I hear it? He will come to us after this couple. Did we pass the test or not? It sounded absolutely incredible, but Katya also heard it. It looks like it. She nodded. Yes. Agata was excited. So he was interested in us. I didn't build him eyes all lunch. Still, I swore. Well, Katya, get ready to be a witness at my wedding. However, the witness was Agatha. Kirill immediately began to give a sign of attention to Katya and asked for her phone number on the first day of meeting. And although he invited to celebrate in the cafe with this note both girls at once, his attention and interest were directed exclusively to Katya. When Agata saw his sympathy for her friend, she was, of course, upset. She was even upset at first. Is this fair? She dreamed so much of getting this guy, and Katya didn't even hit him with her finger, but she already fell in love with him. Of course, Agata was offended. Of course, she was jealous and jealous. But she still couldn't be angry with her friend for a long time. Kirill made his own choice. Katya didn't beat him back and didn't take him away. And Agata was honest enough to admit it. Was Katya to blame for Kirill liking him more? And Katya fell in love with him. In the years, just like in youth. The whole world for her now consisted of one single person. Kirill looked after her so beautifully. Flowers, gifts, invitations to theaters, museums, and exhibitions. They were very interested in each other and always had something to talk about. Katya envied all the students in their university. Kirill was considered the first handsome man there, and anyone wanted to get him. And what did he find in this gray mouse? Anyway, she will get bored of him soon, and he will leave her. However, Kirill and Katya were so sincere and real that even skeptics were stuck by the fifth year. They began to be called the perfect couple and parents. Agatha has long been in peace with Kirill's choice and communicated with him just like with a good friend. Katya's mother was delighted with the young man. From Kirill, he instantly turned into a Karachka for her. A wonderful guy, she said to Katya. How lucky you are, daughter. Look, don't miss it. And on the day when they all got diplomas, Kirill made Katya an offer. At first, she didn't even believe her ears. It was the most beautiful thing she could dream of in her life. She closed her mouth with her hands so as not to get stuck, and happy tears flowed out of her eyes. Wait, I don't understand. Kirill was confused. Does that mean that you agree or not? If so, then at least nod. And looking at him with shining eyes, Katya quickly nodded. They played the wedding modestly, studentically, but it was noisy and fun. The witness, of course, Katya called Agata. She really hoped that her friends would turn out to be as handsome as he himself. What? You look and I'll find a guy for you at the wedding, said the unwavering Agata. And although the witness turned out to be a pretty girl, Agata's romance didn't work out. For some reason, her girlfriend wasn't lucky with her personal life. It didn't work out, despite the fact that she was both smart and pretty, and knew what was called a good fit. Sometimes Katya really didn't understand. After all, such cool girls are sad in loneliness. But the fact remained a fact. Years went by, the twins got married, had children, and now Katya herself has already become a mother twice, and Agata was left alone. No, of course, some romance did happen to her. With someone she even lived together for a while, washed their clothes, and escorted them to work. She behaved like a wife, but only without a passport stamp. However, not one of the gentlemen invited Agata to marry. When she couldn't take it, she began to hint that it would be good to give them a more certain status. The young people immediately disappeared. She didn't keep her mouth shut and continued to believe that one day she would meet her only one. And so far she was sincerely happy for Katya and Kirill. By the way, she became a godmother for both Mila and Artem. As for Katya, her marriage with Kirill seemed like a fairy tale. If someone had told her before that perhaps such a family happiness, that she most likely wouldn't believe it. It's real life, not a housewife's show. And yet, since some time ago, her own life reminded her of that very sentimental love story. They had everything with Kirill. Breakfasts in bed, spontaneous travels together, walks, dances, and kisses in the rain. Presents about and without romantic dates for the anniversary of marriage, passion, tenderness, and, of course, love. A lot of love. Katya never even thought that she could feel so in love and so desired. And even if the money in the first years of marriage was not very thick, they never complained, continuing to work hard and being happy. If they had enough money for soup and a piece of bread with butter and cheese. Parents, of course, helped the young family as much as possible, but Kirill didn't like it very much. He assured Katya that they should stand on their own feet, strengthen, and not count on help from the side. At first, Kirill and Katya were employees of the same company, and later they took the risk of creating their own. And let their business not immediately bring a lot of income, but still gradually they really spread out and began to earn well. At first, Katya could not even believe that they no longer need to save on trifles, ride public transport, and buy goods in stores only with a discount. Now, if she wanted, she could afford to buy products in an expensive supermarket. She didn't have to chop the torn rugs or stockings anymore. She could just buy new ones. The company's income grew. They first bought one car, and then a second one, so that everyone could drive their own business. A little later, they were able to buy a large apartment in the center. Katya couldn't be happy that she wouldn't have to live in a rented apartment anymore. Finally, she had her own house, her own home. They were. Katya's mother was worried. Something is wrong with this, daughter. At my age, this woman was already considered an old woman. Oh my God, what a stupidity, Katya once said in response to her recitation. Now there are few people who are striving to be pregnant until the age of. You need to provide your future children with a decent and poor life, and then give birth. While you are taking care of it, time will pass. Mom was enraged and shook her hands. Health is not eternal. Every year there will be more and more problems. When she came home, Katya was thoughtful and serious. Honestly, she was so used to their life with Kirill that even the theoretical appearance of children scared her. And how romantic the two of them are traveling together. And how much attention and gifts they give to each other. She understood that the birth of a child will change their usual way of life. And yet, when Katya thought that she would have her own little man, who looked like Kirill or herself, she felt warm in her breast. She decided to talk to her husband for dinner. Kirill immediately noticed her slightly. We've been together for several years, and we still don't have any children. His eyes flared up. Are you pregnant? He asked with such hope and delight that Katya was shocked and stood in front of her husband. Do you want children? Of course I want them, he exclaimed. And you could think that no, I dream about them. And I thought that we were good together, a little offended, and I whined to Katya. It turns out that you are not enough of my society. Are you bored with me alone? Well, what are you saying, silly kitten? In a minute of special tenderness, Kirill called Katya exactly like that. I never get bored with you. I love you most in the world. But this is a continuation of you. And that means there will be one more person I love in my life. Funny. Katya smiled. And I just recently thought that children are a continuation of you. Little you. So are you pregnant or not? Kirill clarified, looking at her stomach as if he could see something. Not yet. But if you don't mind, and I don't mind either, maybe we should get down to business with this question? In the same second, Kirill grabbed Katya's hand and dragged her into the bedroom. What are you doing? She whistled. Where are you taking me? To make children, of course. Kirill explained indiscriminately. Why put the matter in a long box? Months later, Mila was born, and a few years later, Artyom. The birth of children made them and Kirill even closer to each other and strengthened their family. Sometimes Katya thought that she just didn't deserve such happiness. Kirill was a child of a heartless soul and was the best father in the world. Their family was perfect. That's what everyone thought, except for the people in their environment. What can I say? Even Katya herself thought so. And this is how her confidence was shattered. It shattered into pieces that very morning, when she accidentally looked into her husband's phone and found a message from a wild cat. Katya went home to pack up some things for herself and her children, and again she was thinking about her mother. Don't cut yourself off. Don't rush. Pretend you don't know anything. Close your eyes to the betrayal. Be wise. These words were still echoing in her ears. Is Mom right? The only reasonable thing Katya can do is pretend nothing happened. But it's even more difficult than to declare to your husband about the decision to divorce. How can you live pretending that everything is fine? How it never happened to lie down with an unfaithful husband in bed, kiss him, prepare breakfast for him in the morning and wish him a good day, knowing that, perhaps, today he will be the same hands that he hugged you with, to caress another woman, kiss her with the same lips. Who kissed you? Is it possible to close your eyes to such a thing? It's disgusting. Then Katya thought, what if Kirill is really not guilty of anything? What if this message is someone's stupid joke or a setup? Who knows who could envy their marriage? What if everything is not as it seemed to her? She understood that she was clinging to Solomon, inventing ridiculous excuses for her husband. But she wanted to believe that he was pure in front of her, that he never had another woman in his marriage, except her. In the end, Katya decided that keeping silence and pretending that you don't suspect anything, it's not for her. It is necessary to talk to Kirill about purity, to find out what he feels about her. Maybe his love has long gone, and she just didn't notice anything? Katya was worried and looked at herself in the mirror of the rear view. Yes, she is certainly not a young girl anymore, who was in university and who attracted the attention of a new handsome man. Yes, she is already under. Her skin is no longer as elastic and smooth as years ago, and small wrinkles near the corners of the eyes, neck, and arms. Actually, Katya has always been a well-groomed and attractive woman, but now she has become completely unsatisfied with her appearance. As Agata once said, years of life is just beginning. Well, yes. Can a year-old woman flirt with a year-old young beauty? How old is this wild kitty? For some reason, she thought she was supposed to be very young. Young and insanely beautiful. Probably some kind of long-legged blonde with a model appearance, ears, luxurious figure, and fluffy lips. Katya imagined her as Kirill. Kirill hugs this young, beautiful beauty and says to her what she loves, and she was sick of disgust. No, no. If the betrayal really took place, then she will never be able to close her eyes on this. Forgive and forget. It hurts too much to share your man with another. The only thing Katya decided for herself is that she really won't rush into an accusing conversation. She needs a little time to calm down and make the most correct decision. And then they will talk to Kirill and find out everything. She climbed the elevator to the 9th floor, nervously carrying a bag in search of the keys, opened the door and entered the half-dark hallway. Kirill was supposed to be in the office, but Katya caught some movement from the depths of the apartment. Is he really at home? She didn't want to meet her husband at all, because she wasn't ready for such a serious and important conversation. When she sniffed, Katya felt a scent of someone else's perfume in the air. It was annoying, but still clearly different. It was definitely not her perfume. Katya used fresh, bitter aromas, and that smell was sweet. The flower one. Katya definitely knew one person who used the same kind of spirits. It was her friend Agata. But where did that strange smell come from? Katya froze and listened. From somewhere in the room, the silenced voices, male and female, were being heard. Could it be that Kirill brought his mistress home? Well, why not? Katya told him that he would live with his parents for a few days. So he decided that the house was free and not all the same to go to the hotel, or where they meet there. Thinking about this, Katya was amazed by the outrage. Did Kirill really have enough conscience and impudence to bring this shit here? She immediately forgot about her intention to take a break and think it over. Kirill's desire to tell Kirill everything she thinks about him turned out to be stronger. Decisively throwing her chin up, Katya stepped in that direction, where voices were coming from. That's right. They came from the bedroom. Good, there's nothing to say. With anger, Katya thought about Kirill. He dragged his pettiness to them in the house, right into their spouse's bedroom, into their bed. She pushed the door, not knowing what she was going to do. She was going to scratch her husband's eyes, or grab this crap in her hair and shake them. But all the words stuck in her throat when she saw who was in the bedroom with Kirill. Katya even blinked a few times, refusing to believe her eyes. It was Agatha, her best friend. The appearance of Kate created the effect of a bomb that exploded. The husband, caught at the scene of the crime, opened his eyes and abruptly stepped away from Agata. He almost jumped off. Agata herself was scared and squeezed her back into the bed. They had not yet finished dressing up, but still Agata's blouse was untied, and the skirt was missing. As for the husband, he was left in only one of the pants. In general, it was clear without any extra explanations what they were going to do here. Funny, but Katya did not expect to see her best friend in the arms of her own husband so much that the brain even now was seeking an excuse for her. Maybe she just came to Kirill for a friendly reason. Or maybe she wanted to talk about me. I shared my trouble with her today. To correct Kirill's brain. Aha! Then the inner voice was suddenly called out, and they both split up in order to make it more convenient to talk friendly, right? Finally, Kirill remembered. Katya, he said in a hoarse voice, it's not what you thought. From this stereotypical, serial, ridiculous phrase, Katya began to laugh in her voice. Of course not. In fact, everything is clean and innocent. She called out with a mockery. And in bed you both turned out to be completely by accident, without any back thoughts, just decided to rest, right? Katya, listen. It was a bit of a start, but I came across a complete contempt and hatred look. Shut up. I don't want to hear anything. I considered you my friend. My closest friend, by the way, said Katya. Even today, I was the first to share my suspicions with you. And you listened to me as if nothing had happened, depicting shock and surprise. A hollow halla. I also asked if I was going to find my husband's lover. You must have had a lot of fun, right? It was nice to make a fool of myself. She hurried to the exit. Her husband was trying to stop her, but something was screaming after her. But Katya flew out of the apartment in a bullet. She couldn't wait to get off the elevator. She jumped down the stairs on foot. After getting out of the entrance, she rushed to her car as if to the rescue shelter.
Katya, wait.
Her husband, who had jumped onto the balcony, screamed at her from above. She gently raised her head and noticed that he had not even put on his clothes. So he hung himself over the railing with his bare torso, desperately waving his hands. Wait, please, don't go away. He continued to drink, attracting the attention of the neighbors and yard friends. Let's at least talk normally, humanly. What are we talking about? She was. Wildcats? Let me explain everything. Continued begging to shout out to Kirill. Katya looked up and tickled. I don't want to hear anything. I'm going to divorce. You can't, said her husband. What divorce? What have you come up with? I won't give you a divorce. Well, Katya nodded, trying to keep calm. You don't want to be good? Then we'll have a bad divorce. Through court. She got into her car and suddenly broke down. Katya didn't remember how long she was driving at a high speed, where her eyes were looking. It was a miracle that she was not stopped for exceeding the speed. It was a miracle that she didn't get into an accident and stayed alive. She drove outside the city and now drove on an empty highway. I don't know where. The tears that were not shed burned my eyes, but most of all, it burned my chest. How could he? What a pathetic traitor. She repeated endlessly. How could she? What a treacherous traitor. How could they both? How dare they? Finally, she managed to cry out, and it was as if the dam had been torn. Tears flowed in an endless stream. The weeping literally suffocated her. She cried and screamed, cursing her husband and regretting herself. Katya herself did not know that she had a painful perception of the subconscious. A blow to the back from Kirill or from Agath, two of her closest people, whom she trusted as much as herself. How to live after that? The traitorous thought was fluttering. To send a car somewhere to a tree or a cliff. But Katya immediately gets angry and rubs herself. What's going on with her? Is she seriously discussing how to kill herself? Well, think about it. Her husband has changed. Eco is not visible. Neither she is the first nor she is the last. And thinking about death is stupid and mean. Parents, to those people she truly loved. The wild anger of Kirill came to replace despair. What did he think of himself? Will she really let him understand that he cannot live without him? What else? Yes, they were married a long time ago, but there is nothing eternal in the world. If for him their marriage, their family, their children turned out to be so important that he dared to trample all this in the dirt, then it is not worth regretting the loss of such a husband. Katya decisively shook her head, finally coming to her senses. She will not shed tears because of this freak. If he exchanged her love for Agath, the worse for him, and she will continue to live without Kirill. She will live very well. Then Katya noticed that the petrol tank was at the east. She ran out and entered the navigator address of the nearest gas station. She was still missing on this deserted highway. Fortunately, the gas station was not far from the gas station. Katya somehow managed to reach it. Having filled the tank with petrol, she visited the lady's room, where she washed her well-washed, swollen face. And then she suddenly realized that she was terribly hungry. The appetite woke up from the worries. There was a small store on the gas station, and Katya decidedly headed straight there. A sign was hanging on the glass door. The store is closed until tomorrow morning. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience you have brought. However, Katya looked through the glass that there was a person inside the counter. It was or wasn't. She wanted to eat too much to think about the manners now. Katya decisively pushed the door and went inside. Girl, the store doesn't work. The man behind the counter grumbled, not breaking away from some paper that he had been licking. I just wanted a burger, chocolate and coffee, said Katya. I can't help you with anything. The man shook his head. She was so angry. Why can't you do it? Here's the store, here are the goods, here I am, and here you are right in front of the cashier. Is it really so difficult to sell me a couple of lollipops and save me from a hunger strike? It seems that her fiery tirade made a proper impression on the man. He finally lifted his eyes from his papers, straightened up, and looked at Katya with surprise. And colorful sellers. The man was very good at himself. Wide shoulders, stately, tall, a real Russian hero, old-fashioned. The resemblance was made by a beautiful little beard with mustache and bright blue eyes. Katya has never seen such clear eyes in adults, only in children. But since it was right from starvation, he stretched out his arms. So what did you want? I would like a burger with double cheese, a chocolate bar with Ericus and caramel, a couple of apples and a creamy cappuccino, and a bottle of lemonade. The man behaved strangely. He looked at the shelves and behind him for a long time. He even looked into the refrigerator before he found everything he needed. The seller doesn't know where he is. Katya smiled at herself. You want a burger? He asked not too confidently. Katya nodded. Of course. Finally, her order was ready. The man politely pulled out her bag, a cup of coffee, and voiced sumo, warning her. Only cash, please. The terminal doesn't work today. Katya was confused with cash. I'm so happy to remember if she actually has a wallet with her. I'm afraid that... Oh no, the man said. Now it will turn out that you don't have any money. Katya got angry. Her stomach was literally spinning from hunger, and when looking at the burger, her mouth was filled with saliva. I have money, she said. Only in the whole civilized world. I told you, girl. The seller politely responded. The terminal doesn't work. Well, let me send you a transfer by phone number. Katya offered to do it without any expenses. The big guy thought a little, and then waved his hand. God bless you. Come on, write down the number. Having sent him the required amount, Katya picked up her purchases and hurriedly left the store. She enjoyed her hot coffee and drank her teeth into the burger. Life was full of new colors. It turned out that you should eat, and all the troubles that had happened no longer seemed to you to be so irreparable. Having backed up, Katya started the engine and turned the car around to go back to the city. Probably the children had completely lost her, and Mom must be worried. Katya looked at her phone. So it is. Several missed calls. And she turned off the sound and did not hear. It was time to return as soon as possible and calm down her relatives. Katya did not notice that the seller in the store was carefully watching her through the glass. And then for some reason, she records the number of her car. Katya was late and thought that she had never brought the children the things they asked for. On the other hand, she had things. Okay, she decided. Tomorrow, right after school, we will go to the store with them and buy everything we need. And the uniform and books. She had no strength to go to their apartment with Kirill again. Mom met her with an exaggerated, joyful expression on her face. Katya, she declared, We have a guest. What guest? Katya did not understand, grumbling. At this time, happy children jumped out at her for a meeting in the hallway. Mom, Daddy's here. So that's how it is. Katya got tense, getting ready to meet Kirill face to face. To be honest, she would have preferred not to see him at all, but not to run away from home now. It's a lot of honor to run away from this traitor. Having put on a cold expression of indifference, she entered the living room. In her appearance, sitting on Kirill's couch, he stood up to meet her. And then he put the bride in her hands, who had taken the bouquet of golden roses from the code. Oh, come on. He rolled with flowers. He was in a hurry. Katya could not contain her ironic laughter. Kiryusha, will you have dinner? The happy mother-in-law was bustling around. I have your favorite dumplings and pea soup with garlic dumplings, and also pies. Katya barely noticed. I couldn't watch the show that my mother was doing. She already knew that Kirill was cheating on Katya, and continued to behave as if he was the most honorable and dear guest in this house. Disgusting. I'll eat later, Irina Sergeyevna, Kirill replied, without taking his eyes off his wife. I need to talk to Katya. Mom calmed down and immediately started to fuss, kicking the kids out of the kitchen. So, come on, get out of here. Mom and Dad need to talk alone, without strangers. Come on, I'll give you pies and tea. Finally, Katya and Kirill stayed together. It's strange, but now she wasn't as painful as before. It was, of course, terribly unpleasant to realize that her husband was holding her back. But surprisingly, she didn't want to get out of the helplessness and cry anymore. Probably, she screamed and cried out all her pain, rushing at a furious speed along the highway. Kitten, Kirill was affectionate, but Katya literally pulled out of this familiar nickname. I'm not a kitten to you. She called me cold. You have other kitties. He shook his head, looking at her. So much was red in his eyes, and despair, and hope, and longing, and the desire to return it. However, nothing shook Katya's soul. I know you're angry at me now. Kirill tried to come from the other side, but Katya didn't let him finish. Am I angry? Oh no, that's not the word. I'm not mad at you.
I despiser you.
You're disgusting to me. Not a single person in the world has caused me as much disgust as you. She noticed how her husband changed his face. His shameless words clearly hurt him. But Katya wasn't going to spare him. He didn't spare her. Yes, I know that I have no forgiveness. But believe me, I've always loved, love, and will love only you. The only one in the whole world. Katya grumbled at the cheap pathos of these words. You will love me and sleep with my friends. She clarified it with a grumbling voice. Kirill also grumbled, as if swallowing a lemon. Yes, it's all not serious, kitten. What exactly is not serious? She clarified coldly. The fact that you brought your lover, who, in combination, turned out to be my best friend, to our home, to our bedroom, to our spouse's bed, is much more serious. Kirill looked down. Yes, I know it's my fault, but I swear, it was her initiative. She threw herself at me. I fought back as best I could until the very end. Oh, poor thing. Katya laughed at me. Also, tell me that she had seduced you with her seductive potion and dragged you into bed with a deception. You won't say anything. Very manly. She literally persecuted me, continued Kirill. Honestly, I didn't want to have any relationship with her. And then we had a fight, and Agata suddenly turned up next to me and comforted you. Yes, Katya said. She was so disgusted that she even got a motive. I don't know, and I don't want to know about all these details. How did it all begin? Where? How many times? I'm not interested at all. This will not happen again, her husband said, and added, quite childishly, I will not be anymore. I do not care. I'll shake Katya's shoulders. Even if you do, I'm not going to live with you anymore anyway. Kirill got pale. Stop joking around, kitten. Do not talk about divorce anymore, okay? She shook her head. It was the divorce. And only after the divorce I am going to talk to you. I can't stay with you, Kirill. I don't want to and I won't. But you love me, he called out begging. How can you destroy so easily so many years of our happy marriage? Katya even laughed out of surprise. You are so clever to translate, dear. So it was me who destroyed our marriage. And you have nothing to do with it. Kirill Panura lowered his head. Everyone has the right to make mistakes. Perhaps Katya shook her shoulders. But I'm not a saint. I'm not going to forgive you. But listen, he said in a hurry, confused. This is how these things are not solved. Even your mother is against us. She's on my side in this situation. I'm very happy for you, and for my mom, said Katya. But living with you is not for her. So I make the decision. And what about the children? Kirill whispered with a completely unhappy voice. They won't survive if we part. They love me so much. Katya rolled her eyes. Oh my God. What are you doing here? Scenes from some cheap TV show? No one is going to take away your children from you. I know that they love you. And as a father you are wonderful. I have nothing to reproach them for. They will understand everything in time. I promise that I will not tell them about you a single bad word. You can see them whenever you want, and take them to yourself on weekends or on vacation. Like decent, adequate people. Kirill shook his head, looking at Katya with unwavering torment on his face. I can't believe it. Are you really so serious? Katya looked him in the eye. More than seriously, Kirill. There are things that are not forgotten and forgiven. Deceit is one of them. On the same level with betrayal. If you thought that you could easily have fun on the side, and then return to the family as if nothing had happened, then you were wrong. For the hygiene of relationships, we will never be together again. Never. Of course, relatives and acquaintances received a news about the upcoming divorce of Katya and Kirill just like Katya's mother. They rounded their eyes. Is she a fool to leave such a man? Well, you think you're a loser. Well, you think you've changed. Who doesn't happen? Such husbands as Kirill don't lie on the road. What does she think of herself in the end? She herself is already years old. Who will she need with 2 children? She could show wisdom and not destroy such a strong marriage. And other people's conversations, but she was just shaking her head. In her understanding, wisdom had no relationship with forgiveness and betrayal. Fortunately, Kirill, realizing that her decision was ungrateful, did not put her sticks in her wheels. It was unbearable for him to let her go, but he was already convinced that she should not be persuaded. Nothing could make Katya change her decision. Mom, of course, suffered and worried for a very long time, even more than Katya herself. Kirill was an ideal son-in-law for her, and she could not agree that her daughter was involved in the divorce process. Kirill left the apartment to Katya and the children. Mila and Artem, of course, were surprised and upset at first when their parents told them about the divorce, but soon they became convinced that for them, in fact, little has changed. They still saw Dad as often as they wanted. He took them to his place, went with them to the park, rode on rides. In short, for them, everything continued as usual, and they calmed down. Katya sold her partner's share in their company with Kirill. She was going to open her own business, a small home bakery with fresh baking. The acquaintances were just shaking their heads. They even got a divorce out of envy. They lived with their souls and divorced, too, very beautifully, with dignity, without dirt. But from then on, all their common acquaintances have turned away from Agata. For some reason, the people around her were sure that she had broken up with her family. Although, frankly speaking, her decision did not affect her at all. Of course, Katya met her ex-girlfriend for the first time, to be honest and to make a point in this unpleasant conversation for both of them. I've always envied you. Agata admitted in a slump. I fell in love with Kirill at first sight, back in university, and he chose you. I hoped until the end. that he would still pay attention to me, but he was only interested in you. You can't imagine how painful it was for me to be around and not be able to admit my feelings. Maybe I should feel sorry for you, Katya sighed. Yes, he chose me, but you weren't even a couple at that moment, and you, my dear, broke into someone else's family. By the way, I trusted you. I told you about our relationships, about our quarrels with Kirill, and you listened. You were. Because I loved you too, but I loved him more. Thank you for being honest.
Katya sighed.
Well, since we've talked it over, I think we don't have any point in meeting anymore. And Kirill is now free. Take it, use it. Agata's face turned red. I would be glad. Yes, Kirill doesn't want to see me anymore. And he drops my calls. Katya smiled. And you thought? You can't build your own happiness on someone else's misfortune. Agata closed her face with her hands and cried. I'm sorry. I really didn't want it to turn out like this. Okay. Katya got up from the table at the cafe they were sitting in. I think we figured it out. And now I have to go home. Life after the divorce went down in its own way. Katya's little business slowly went up. In her bakery in the morning, children, adults, and old people were looking around. After all, there you could lick with delicious fresh donuts, decorative buns, waffles, pies, and layers with various fillings. She even had to hire several assistants because she couldn't handle one anymore. How is life? True, mother, from time to time, started an old song about the main thing. It's hard without a man, daughter. Maybe you shouldn't have left Kirill so hastily then. He's still alone. He misses you. He loves you. Katya just grumbled in response. Mom, we've closed the topic. That's it. Kirill's page is turned upside down. But you're all alone. I'm not alone. I have children. You and Dad. My favorite job. And the men? Why did they all give up on me? And one day, Katya suddenly received a message on her phone about the incoming money transfer. The sender was some kind of Andrei Pavlovich V. She opened a banking application on her phone, and for a few seconds, she was struggling to understand the message that the transfer was accompanied by. You left the gas station so quickly that I didn't have time to ask for your phone number. Therefore, this is the only way to contact you. It took a few more seconds before Katya remembered. Of course, the seller in the shop at the gas station. Russian hero. Handsome. A touch of soot on his shoulders. She sent him money for his phone number, and apparently, now he couldn't think of anything better than to send her a message along with a small money transfer. Feeling that she was smiling, Katya was looking for his number in the history of bank operations and immediately called. Well, hello, Andrei Pavlovich V. She said, what purpose did you write to me for? I wanted to invite you for a date. He responded without a stop. I was not surprised at all by her call. How long have you been thinking? Katya smiled. Oh, in fact, this is a whole story. I tried to find you by the car number, but for some reason it didn't work out. Because I sold my car after the divorce and now I drive public transport. Katya laughed. After the divorce, in Andrei's voice, interested notes were heard. This means I called in time. What a self-confident guy. Katya was funny. Funny, but she felt free and easy flirting with this barely familiar man. She hadn't felt like a woman for so long. Why self-confident? She heard from her voice that Andrei was smiling. I'm just objectively evaluating myself. It's not like I'm a freak. Do you really think I have no chance of liking you? All my life I dreamed of going on a date with a seller working in a gas station. Yekudna said to Katya. It probably wasn't very polite, but she decided to be honest. Well, actually, I'm not a seller. After a short break, Andrei said. Katya was confused. Who is it? I'm the owner of that gas station. That day, I just made a list of documents and bills, so I was in the store. You obviously took me for a seller. It was useless to argue with you. But you sold me products, on the spot. You were very convincing. Andrei laughed. Could it be that you could refuse an angry, hungry woman? And such a beauty. Katya felt how shame filled her face. How good it is that he could not see her now. I'm sorry, she muttered in repentance. I was not quite in the right place that day. I don't understand what I was carrying. Yes, everything is fine. He calmed down. I even liked your straightforwardness. Well, so what? How about a date? And Katya could only breathe out. Yes, she didn't want to make it too far ahead. Who knows what awaits her with this very Andre? Maybe a short and stormy novel, or maybe long-term serious relationships. But the most important thing that Katya understood about herself, she finally, that has the right to personal happiness. They say that life only starts at the age of. Now Katya is convinced of this. You don't have to be afraid of age. You don't have to be afraid of experiments. You don't have to endure humiliating relationships with a changing husband. After all, where one door closes, another will definitely open. Thousand roads, and you need to choose from all of them the most faithful and the happiest.